Good afternoon, everybody. All right, well, welcome to Coffee with Nick. As we've been doing, we're going to be swapping around. Andrew's going to have tea with Andrew. I'll have coffee with Nick. Mine are going to go pretty fast. I'm really going to do kind of a recap of what's been going on this month here at Century 21 and Friends. We've been talking about Realtor Safety Month. September is Realtor Safety Month. And we actually put out quite a bit of video, and it's wonderfully done. I do say so myself, on how to protect yourself in certain situations. Yours truly took one for the team a couple times. I got tased by a bloodthirsty agent. I was brutally maced in Las Cruces by Karina, who, as it turns out, goes above and beyond on how she carries it, right? We're going to go into a little bit on that everyday carry and how you should do it, right? So one of the cool things I thought about that what we did on when they maced me, when she wounded me, was that she actually goes above and beyond. Like I said, she actually carries that mace on her keychain, right? So most people, when they're like, oh yeah, I got my mace, or I got my pepper spray, I've got whatever it is that I need, usually ask, oh, that's cool, where's it at? I'm like, oh, it's right here in my purse, or it's in the car. You know, if I need it, I'll just grab it, right? Which, you know, if you're getting attacked, that's probably not going to do you a whole lot of good. But Karina goes one step further, so I have to give her kudos on this. She actually has it at all times on her keychain, right? So if she's showing a house or walking through the office even, or through the parking lot, or whatever the case is, which is, you know, pretty much all the places where you're most likely to be attacked. She actually has her mace, her pepper guard mace. I'll go ahead and endorse it now. And it was, it's always in her hand, right? But what's really cool is when we decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get maced by it. Let's see if it's really good. And we'll add to that, I grossly underestimated how good the mace pepper guard would be. I've been sprayed by military grade OC spray 3 times. And one of the times it hurts. But you know, usually I was getting used to it, getting pretty comfortable with it. It still hurt very much, but I thought, this civilian stuff's gonna be nothing. I was forced to eat my words. It was embarrassing. I had 5 people standing there laughing and filming me the entire time, and they wouldn't leave me alone. And I had to pretend like it didn't hurt, but it did. It hurt a lot. And I will give it kudos. Good job, Mace. Anyways, so she goes to spray me, right? First take. She goes to go. Boop. I'm standing there, by the way, saying, hey, I'm going to attack you. Turn around, and she went to go and couldn't figure out how to depress the trigger assembly. So we go to the second take. All right, let's do the second time. Now we're good. I show her, hey, you probably got to get in there, get deep, like you mean it, right? So she goes in there to do it again. Second take, misses my eyes completely and just gets the entire forehead and top of my head, which, by the way, if you'll notice, I don't have any hair. So it just hits all of my skin like this. First, that's the second take. Okay, let's redo it. I don't want to cheat the viewers and the agents. I want you all to get the full effect, so I'll go ahead and do this again. Third take, bam, same thing. I get a whole nother dose of pepper guard to the top of my head again. Great. Fourth time's the charm. Any of you who saw the video, you'll notice that she got me. She got me good on that one. In fact, my eye was immediately sealed shut. What are really good takeaways on that, though, is this is someone who's very competent, goes above and beyond and carries that mace with her at all times. But had I been an attacker, even one who walked up calmly, slowly in a parking lot or in a home and said, I'm now going to attack you, wouldn't have been hit. On that fourth time, she got it. However, now that we've gone through that situation, both she and I are confident that she could utilize that tool that she has on her everyday carry perfectly well. Like if somebody walked up to her right now, she'll probably just, even if you walk up and ask for directions, you're probably getting maced, and it's going to be wonderfully done, right in the eyes. I'm telling you, she'll do it. But the point is that it's all well and good to have a good everyday carry, to have something that's a tool to protect yourself or something along those lines. But if you don't know how to use it, then you might as well not have it, right? In fact, it could even be a detriment having that, because now you have that false sense of security. We showed that with the taser, right? When Nikita tased me about 19 times while I was trying to talk, which was funny, and it was funny. However, we also noticed that taser that she used wasn't very dangerous. In fact, that was, in my opinion, a substandard tool, right? It might be a deterrent. It's real loud, I'll give you that, but it didn't really hurt, right? And that's one thing we learned then too. But she walked around thinking, man, if I just touch somebody with this, you're gonna pass out. Nope, didn't happen. Mace, it's a good tool. Now, I would also say too that if I was really enraged, I would have had time to still damage my victim, were I the predator in that situation. But I would say that if you coupled that mace with creating distance, throw a little training in there, and what I don't mean is jump after somebody twice your size to try and beat them down. I mean, spray them, distance, and really keep that mindset of getting out of that situation. And I think she could have gotten away from me if she did that correctly. But again, like I said, we needed to train with that tool, right? We don't want that false insecurity. Anyways, that's a good one. Another one, of course, the video that we put out was when what I thought were my trusted coworkers, and they let 3 scumbags in through the back door and they jumped me. Luckily, I trained jujitsu, and I was not about to be embarrassed in my own office. So I was able to adapt and overcome and tap them out, thankfully. But another good takeaway from that is that I'm a little embarrassed to say it, but if you watch the video, you can see that I'm sitting there scrolling on Instagram or whatever. I'm sure I was replying to emails. It looks like I'm scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever his kids are doing. And sitting there drinking my coffee, right? Just sitting there drinking my coffee and playing and not paying attention to all the indicators that something's about to happen, right? And if you watch that video, the one I put up recently, I've got funny music and all that stuff. But the original video is like 3 minutes long. And a solid minute of that is me not paying attention to all the people running around giggling and laughing and filming me all around me, not being very secretive at all. And I got no idea. And why do I have no idea? Because my head is firmly in my phone and I'm not paying attention to my surroundings. Which is funny because that's something I say all the time. Keep your head on a swivel, pay attention. What's going on around here? I was not doing that, right? It was glaringly obvious that I was not practicing what I preach all the time. And I paid for it by getting thrown to the ground by a bunch of punks. But like I said, how do we get out of that? Well, you train. Now, I train hard on jujitsu. I don't think that that's the answer for everyone to go out there and try and be able to say, hey, just beat them up if they jump you. That's not really going to happen. Because if those same guys walked up, hit me in the back of the head with a pipe wrench, it would have been a lot less fun and a lot less cool. And I certainly wouldn't have posted it. But those are a couple of videos that we put out there, and those are good takeaways. Or takeaways. And I want us to have a good conversation on those things. All of those brought a lot of the good conversation pieces in there. Don't have too much faith in tools that maybe don't deserve it, and don't have too much faith in the tools that you don't know how to use, right? So let's talk about everyday carry real quick. And this is going to be crazy. I'm not going to go really deep into this. I'm just not. I just brought a couple of my things that I carry on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes I have more, sometimes less, depending on the mission, right? What you're doing. So everyday carry. So this is something that I have all the time. I always have my little knife, right? Now, this is my little bug out Benchmade, right? This is something I use for just every little things, opening boxes, opening up food, just having somebody say, hey, do you have a knife? I say, yeah, I got a knife. Usually it's like me and 6 other people, but you don't want to be the guy that doesn't have a knife. Somebody asks for a knife, right? So that's half why we have it. Another knife I have, the Spyderco, right? This is the Matriarch. I love this knife. One, says it folds down into a pretty decent size, right? I keep it down in my little appendix carry. But if I need to get it out, it opens up to a pretty good sized knife that is made to cut attacker flesh. I don't use this to open up boxes. I don't use this to do little things. If somebody has a knife and I don't have this one on me and somebody says, hey, do you have a knife? I'm like, nope, I don't. Just for one thing, self-defense. But it's good to have, right? Another thing I have is, it was also brought to my attention that this is going to be on Facebook, and I don't believe I'm allowed to show all weapons that one may or may not carry on their body. So I may or may not have something else in this region here, down here. I may or may not have something very dangerous in my pants. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Brenda, Brian, cut me off. I'm not allowed to. But yep, there could be something more dangerous down here. You can't see it. It's there. But more importantly, I also know how to use it. I know how to grab it, pull it out, and get something downrange, if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I just got weird for a second because we still didn't mention what it might be. So sorry, everybody. Another thing that I always like to carry. Now, a tourniquet. Okay, so tourniquet, things like that we have in our everyday carry. Now, I don't necessarily carry this. You can buy tourniquet pouches for your belt, whatever the case is. I always have one of these in my bag. I carry that in my bag that I have every day that I go to work. Laptop, iPad, got knives, got all this other cool stuff in there. I also have a tourniquet. I always make sure that I have my tourniquet in there or another medical equipment. And why is that important? Because not only could we be attacked as realtors, but where else do we spend a lot of our time? The highways, right? We're driving. As we're driving along, we're going to see. It might not even be us, right? It might be somebody else. Andrew, Brian, and myself one time showed up seconds after a horrible car wreck that happened, and we actually got out. And we all 3 rendered aid. Sadly, the person that we were trying to help out did not make it, and it's one of those ones where it was just really sad. Now, in that case, no tourniquet was going to save this person, but if there was some issue like that where they were injured or something along those lines, like even an amputated arm or leg or something along those lines, you get a tourniquet on them, You cinch that down, and their chances of survival are through the roof. Okay. Now, that being said, remember, it's just like with the gun and the pepper spray and everything else, we need to know how to use the tourniquet. Now, what I'll probably end up doing this month is I'm going to get a paramedic from the fire department or a National Guardsman to maybe apply a tourniquet or two to me. And I'll send a video out for you guys just to have something on there, or come by and I'll show you how to do the tourniquet. But that's huge, and that's really something where you can save yourself, a loved one, or some random person on the side that really needs your help. So medical is something that's truly important. Now, obviously, you want to have the information, but you want to have the knowledge how to use that stuff. You want to have it in there. There's other things you can have. I mean, your vehicle loadout is pretty important too. Again, not everything is designed to, destroy the enemy. I mean, there's a lot of things out there. There's natural disasters. There's things like that where you could, you might have a breakdown between here and somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. If you're showing a property out in a rural area, which we have a lot of those here in Las Cruces and El Paso, Texas, the Southwest region, we got a lot of stuff. Now, what are we going to have in our vehicle loadout, right? Everybody's going to have something different, but we're not going to have to worry about the same things that, say, Colorado Springs would have, right? Like they might need some heavy blankets, some jackets, things like that. Chances are here in El Paso, Texas, that's not the number one thing we need is a nice heavy blanket out here in 109-degree weather. But there are things you might need. You might need some extra water. You might need something for shade. You may need something along those lines. And so start thinking about things like that you want to have in there. But medical equipment is a huge one, right? And again, these knives, they're not all for stabbing folks. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with a knife, good, and that's the thing too. Don't go grab a $6 blade, and that thing breaks off 3 seconds into when you need it. Get something decent, it's something you're gonna carry around. Your life may depend on it, not only in a fight to the death, but in a survival situation as well. So those are a couple of things you might want to have. Flashlights like that. That's another thing that you should probably always have. Even just as your phone is good too. I mean, sure every single realtor on this call has used their phone before when they are showing a house. Late hours or in that weird creepy basement that nobody knew was there. You're like, maybe instead of using your phone flashlight or just the light up screen of it, you might want to use your nice flashlight, right? It's going to show you a little bit more. And not only that, if it's a nice powerful flashlight, it's going to show you a lot more distance out there, and you can keep distance away from if there is a would-be attacker or some crazy feral cat. We have an agent here who's attacked by a cat. You laugh now, but it's serious. Cats are very dangerous, very dirty. Cats are. Anyway, so.
Hey, can I offer a few points of reference?
Hold on. What's that?
So first off, guys, preparation goes across the board. So as much as preparation for the purpose of anybody to attack, also having just a realtor toolkit as well. This is also clothing wise too. When it gets dark, and you may be showing all day, when it gets darker, maybe take off those, those dress shoes or heels and put on a pair of tennis shoes. In environments, we need to be smart about it as well. So I just want to kind of offer that solution that yes, all the preparation in the world is great, but if you don't apply it and put it in the right avenues of when you need it, it doesn't matter. There are times where Nick or I have both had preparation ready, and then we take another car and none of the preparation that we had is accessible, right? This happens regularly. So it's also conscious thinking about it as well, not as much as just having the preparation, but making sure that you can apply it at the right times when needed, and understanding that you need to prepare your day and calendar and all those things to understand when you may need stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of offer that as a solution too, is that it doesn't always just come down to having the right things at the right time. It comes down to preparing for the right times for when you need those things, right? So just wanted to kind of offer that up as a solution. And what Nick is talking about is a weapon, not necessarily something that is bodily attached,
or
but actually
is it
something. So
hey, nobody knows, and that's why it's provocative, Brian.
Yeah, provocative. That's the word I would use. Okay, so just make sure that we're smart about it, and that we're responsible about our safety, but also about the other things. Nick is right. Sometimes you may see or be party to or see something happen that you can step in and be prepared for. And it doesn't have to be a violent act or anything like that. It could be something hurt. It could be something to that simple factor.
Actually, a point on that is more likely it won't be a violent act. Like the chances of you going by a car, how many people have gone by a car wreck? Like, oh my gosh. A lot of people get out and just try and help and call 911. And that's important. although you don't want 500 people calling 911 at the same time, but that, you're more likely to have something like that happen than a violent attack.
Correct. No, I also want to just offer a solution because Nick has been party to this before, is that a lot of our smartwatches now have emergency techniques in them, whether SOS or whatever, or just fall techniques. You need to make sure that they're going out to people that are responsive, one, and two, you need to make sure that you're cautious about making sure to tell people that are on that emergency alert that nothing did happen if nothing did happen. So just want to make sure that we put that out.
What Brian's alluded to, guys, is that he's actually my safety contact. And many times I'll go on a run. Many times I'll go on a run and this thing will hit it and it'll call my safety contact. And I can count on usually a 3 hours to 27 hours later, I'll get a call to say, hey, are you okay? So that's one of those things. Is another thing is when you go into that preparedness that Brian's talking about, prepare for someone who's actually going to pay attention, contact the authorities, and look out for you before you assign them as your safety contact.
And then the last thing, just as a top of priority thing, is when you do see, this is across the board, right? So as much as Nick having a knife, Nick having another weapon on him, those items, yeah. These items are important, but also it sounds silly, but a hefty duty star bar for taking tires or removing, to open up tires. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people use the thing that's installed on the vehicle. That's going to be the cheapest made one. They break. They're not resourceful, any of that. Buying the right amenities for either your car or even your client's car is smart as well. Because, guys, once again, this is all about being prepared across the board. It doesn't have to always be safety. Safety can have a large amount of things involved in it. And that could be, listen, if I'm hoisting up a vehicle, me and Nick have gone in multiple occasions where we're in sandy environments. If you have the wrong tire jack, you're not getting out of that situation, right? That's a safety hazard, even though it doesn't have any violence involved.
Well, and the other thing on that too, using the safety jack, we all know I almost killed myself like 3 months ago with one of those. Make sure everybody knows this, but sometimes you don't always practice it. Wedge the tires down, get a nice chalk, if you will, especially if you're on an incline like this. I didn't. Don't try and stop the car, just let it go. 1, 2, if you do get a nice new jack, all that kind of stuff, use it before you go on a trip, right? Like, even if you don't have to change the tire, check it out. Because the last thing you want to do is if you're on a camping trip or you're at the lake and you're like, oh my gosh, now I need to do this. Now I've got to get down in some beach. I wish we had video. There's a time Brian and I were stuck on the lake for what we were out there an extra day because we couldn't dig out his 2-wheel drive truck that we took out to. But and that's okay, right? It's a life lesson. Now, from now on, it's like, you know what? We should probably figure out how to use this stuff before we go. I'm going to use Mike Glover, awesome former Green Beret, all that stuff. He has a great story that he uses for that preparedness. He drives around in a Land Cruiser as a former Land Cruiser owner for like 3 months. I relate, but they have a Land Cruiser. He drives an 80 series, right? And they're real good about, they blow gaskets, right? They just eat fluid and all this kind of stuff. So what he always talks about is knowing how to treat the situation, right? So he has extra gaskets for the head gaskets for it. He knows that he needs to have extra fluid on hand, things like that. So if he sees it smoking, he knows, hey, I'm going to pull over and I think this is actually steam. It needs more fluid. I might need a new gasket. I can drive it back to where I need to be and I can get this taken care of. Someone else, case in point like myself, who just want to look cool when I'm driving a Land Cruiser and don't really know what the hell I'm doing, and I don't rate one, but I'm driving around, I'm looking cool, and I start seeing steam, and I'm like, oh, but I'm sure I can make it to the next spot, right? And I end up doing it for another day. But I keep driving that thing around. It's smoking. It's smoking. It's smoking. I don't know what to do. I just hope I get to the next spot because I don't want to just pull over. As I go, all of a sudden you hear a pop, and now I've destroyed the engine, and I now have a $10,000 fix because I didn't know what to do in that situation. I didn't reach out for help, whatever the case is. I just wanted to look cool, and I'm driving a car. I probably shouldn't because I didn't do that preparedness. Now, in Mike Glover's case, he pulled over, added a gasket and some fluid, probably cost him $50 for all the extra stuff he has on hand versus not only my $10,000 fix I've got to have, but all the time and effort and all that stuff that I just wasted simply because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't take the time to educate myself on what I should be doing. If I have a vehicle like that, could I have had all those other, and those pre-indicators, like we said, again, this isn't an attacker. This is just something that's like, hey, this is something that's normal. Just like we talked about. If you're stuck in Colorado, you should probably have blankets. Whereas El Paso, you should probably have shade and water. So those kind of things. Make sure, like Brian said, preparedness is super big deal. but make sure it's also critical towards the mission that you're on, right? And what I mean by that is, if I'm going to go show at night, you said I should probably have some nice shoes that I can get away from. I should have a nice high beam flashlight, all those kind of things. Just and nothing else, just so I don't stub my toe. Right?
Yeah, and also just because the alluding to a firearm in the conversation is be careful.
Was it?
A lot of people in 2020 bought firearms, and they're still sitting in the package. They're still sitting in the box because they're not willing to spend the money to go out and use the firearms because of the ammunition cost.
A lot of that too is just you're intimidated. What you need to do is either find someone who knows something about that, or go take a course. And honestly, you should take a course. Don't just find somebody who says they know something about weapons.
Correct. And I was going to say, constitutional carry is now live in Texas, which is great. I love the opportunity to have that, but it also leads to people maybe thinking that they should carry a gun, even if they maybe are not the most inherently versed in using said gun. So be careful. I mean, listen, Nick showed me a video one time of a police officer, somebody that had been a police officer for quite some time. I think his tenure was 20 plus years. He had a racked weapon and slid it into the very same region that Nick mentioned. And let's just say he had a bad day. And this is an individual that has had a weapon there probably for the last 20 years. And it just happened to be that one time it was incorrect, and he wasn't paying. And I think he even admits to the fact that he was not. He took full fault for it, if I recall the message. And Nick, you can kind of chime into that if you want.
Let me tell you this much: if your weapon goes off, it's your fault.
Yeah.
So whether it's attached to your body or not, huh?
What? Yeah. But the answer to that the answer is just be careful, right? Be responsible. Listen, I very rarely carry because I know I lose my keys. I know my responsibility level. So know your responsibility level, know where you're at with it before you start doing some of these things. And like I said, you don't have to go all the way to a concealed weapon. You can also use things like a knife or other, just be prepared in that fashion. And make sure the one thing I want to mention, biggest top of mind, is that Nick is right. Karina sprayed him 3 different ways that he would still be motivated to move forward. If you don't know which way it sprays, wind, all those things. I mean, all those things can turn into a really bad environment. So having the things and being prepared to use those things is completely different story. So I know I pushed this long-winded, but I just want to make sure that a lot of times people hear and see and feel like they can do things, and oftentimes they need to have more responsibility about those things. So,
well, like we said, Joe Rogan says, and that's my source, and I buy it. Joe Rogan says that the average American male is 4,000% less effective than he thinks he is in a street fight. Right? That's what it is. We all watch that stuff and we think we're just badasses, and we're not. You walk around with your pepper spray and like, I can use this. I've seen John Wick. I know how to use this thing. Like all that kind of stuff. That's not how it works. Right? You're going to fall to the level of your training. You will not rise to the level of your expectations. Fact. Period. And in closing, we kind of skimmed over that. Do not, in our opinion, do not carry a weapon if you don't know how to use it.
Correct. 100%. Yeah. Even if you are legally allowed to, just learn how to use it first. Right?
Let's go train.
Cool. Anything else? Coffee with Nick?
I'm out.
All right. See you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, we have Andrew with a series that is going over fundamentals tomorrow with Kent. So make sure to tune in to that. It is at 2:00 Mountain Time. Guys, thank you for tuning in. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate. And then remember, for anybody that is in EXP, we also have an agent attraction that happens on Fridays at 9 a.m. and that is Mountain Time as well. Guys, thank you for your time. Have a great day. See you later.